The Newsday continues here on One News Now. I'm Riza Diaz. The Health Department reports over 1,700 new COVID-19 infections. That brings the country's caseload to above 537,000, over 26,000 of which are still considered active. Around 93% are asymptomatic or mild cases. The virus killed 70 more patients in the past 24 hours, pushing the death toll to over 11,100. Nearly 500,000, meanwhile, have gotten better from the disease, with over 11,000 new recoveries reported today. The government aims to vaccinate all medical frontliners within a month. In an interview with DZWB, presidential spokesperson Harry Roque said all 117,000 doses of Pfizer COVID-19 vaccines from the COVAX facility will be administered to medical frontliners. This will be followed by another batch of around 5 million doses of vaccine from AstraZeneca, which will also cover medical frontliners. According to Roque, hospitals covered by the priority list have already sent lists of health workers who will be vaccinated. Vice President Leni Robredo says the government should not be defensive when it comes to legitimate criticisms against its pandemic response. In her weekly radio show, Robredo pointed out that the palace has not been graceful in accepting or responding to criticisms over its handling of the pandemic. The vice president said public officials should accept their shortcomings instead of defending themselves. Recall that presidential spokesman Harry Roque slammed Robredo for urging the government to step up its effort against COVID-19. Roque also told critics earlier to drop dead following the arrival of tunnel boring machines for the Metro Manila subway project.
Kung kailangan magdepensa. Pero yung klase ng pagdedepensa ka, Ellie, parang yun nakakalungkot. Kasi eto na ba yung klase ng public servants natin? Para sa akin, hindi naman natin dinedeserve na yung mga public servants natin mga bastos. Hindi natin dinedeserve na ubod ng yabang.
Meanwhile, the vice president said she appreciates supporters who are supposedly raising funds for her possible election bid in 2022. But Robredo said her focus for now is the pandemic and that these funds should instead be provided to those affected by the crisis.
Dapat yung 2022, last yun sa isip natin lahat. Dahil ang dami. Baka pwedeng i-channel muna natin. Yung ating energy sa paghanap ng mga paraan para matulungan.
We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Riza Diaz. House Speaker Lord Alan Velasco is proposing a third installment to the Bayanihan stimulus package expected to revive the country's pandemic-hit economy. Velasco, along with Marikina Representative Stella Kimbo, filed House Bill 8628 on Thursday. Velasco says the proposed Bayanihan to Arise as One Act has already secured the support of some 115 congressmen. Under the proposed bill, 108 billion pesos will be allotted for additional social amelioration. 70 billion pesos will aid farmers, livestock producer, and fishermen. 30 billion pesos will go to the Labor Department's unemployment programs, and 5 billion pesos will be used for the rehabilitation of areas devastated by recent typhoons, among others. To give us more details about the proposed Bayanihan 3 bill, joining us tonight is Marikina Representative Stella Kimbo. Good evening, ma'am.
Hello, good evening, Ma'am Riza.
Ma'am, we would want to know more information about Bayanihan Law 3. With Bayanihan 2 law already extended until the end of June this year, where or why was there a need for Bayanihan 3?
Well, as you know, the Bayanihan to authorize the total spending of 165 billion pesos, but clearly, given the most recent GDP figures, which indicates that we had a GDP contraction of minus 9.5% for the entire 2020. Clearly, a 165 billion stimulus package is not enough. The minus 9.5 contraction in GDP is equivalent to about a 3.2 trillion economic loss for 2020. So clearly, 165 billion relative to 3.2 trillion in losses, it's just way too small.
Ma'am, we want to get your reaction regarding Senate President Tito Soto's statement last month saying that the Bayanihan 3 is unnecessary.
Well, that's his opinion. But then perhaps he also made that statement prior to the recent report by the PSA that our contraction was way more than what we had expected. If you recall, when we took up the 2021 budget, the economic manager's forecast for the entire year's GDP contraction was only about 5 to 6%. But then clearly what happened in the end was about a doubling of that estimate. So I think it seems clear that the prior assumptions regarding the contraction and the response to that expected contraction is really disproportionate. So we need to add to the Bayanihan too.
Ma'am, what is included in this proposed package that was not present in the first two Bayanihan measures?
Well, if you think about it, the items are very similar. So we have AIDA, that's subsidies per household. There's also some cash for work program funds, meaning this would be assistance for displaced workers. There's also some amount for vaccines, as well as some amount for critically impacted sectors. However, the main difference is that under Bayanihan 3, we are also proposing a second wave of the small business subsidy, wage subsidy program that was authorized under Bayanihan 1. So that's one main difference. And number two, we are also increasing assistance for students and teachers. And essentially, the difference really is also in the magnitude that we are proposing for AIDA. Here, we more or less, what we are pegging as an amount is 1,000 pesos per individual. So for a family of 5, then that family should be receiving 5,000 pesos in AIDA.
Ma'am, should Bayanihan 3 be enacted, where are we sourcing the funds?
Yes, it has to be enacted because as you know, that's the power of the purse of Congress. Any spending that will be done by the government has to be authorized by Congress. And since this spending is going to be over and above Bayanihan 2 as well as the spending under under the 2021 budget, then clearly we need a new bill for that. And as to sourcing of funds, if we look at the cash operations report of our treasury, we have over 1 trillion pesos in cash balances as of the end of November. So, and part of that liquidity is due to the loans that our economic managers had been able to secure during the pandemic. And this is also a result of our good credit rating.
One final question, Congresswoman. Do we have a target timeline for the passage and perhaps the implementation of the bill, especially as the 2022 election draws near?
Well, all I can say is the sooner the better. As we speak, businesses close, and we are talking about big businesses like, for example, Maharashtra has recently announced its temporary closure. PAL has announced the retrenchment of so many workers. So as we speak, businesses are closing, workers are losing their jobs. If we don't act fast, then we are not going to be able to avert those economic losses.
Well, thank you, Congresswoman Kimbo, for your time and for your insights. That was Marikina Representative Stella Kimbo. Now, here are other stories we're keeping our eyes on. Albay Representative Joey Salceda is backing the approved proposal to amend the restrictive economic provisions of the 1987 Constitution. Salceda stresses that it's not just about having foreign direct investments as a source of money, but competition as well. According to the lawmaker, foreign investors will provide local players much-needed competition that will ultimately benefit consumers. Bayan Muna Representative Carlos Zarate says the Agriculture Department's plan to import more meat products will kill the country's agriculture industry. Zarate hits the administration for continuing to import food produce rather than investing in local farmers and livestock raisers. The lawmaker says he will be pushing for a probe on the DA handling of the increasing food prices. And the Commission on Population, or POPCOM, expects to roll out its social protection program for adolescent mothers this year. POPCOM says the program sees a reduction in teenage pregnancies as one way to alleviate poverty in the country. This, as data showed that teenage pregnancy went up by 7% in 2019, the highest so far in 9 years. Now, for more updates, visit News 5, The Philippine Star, and Business World Online. Visit our website, onenews.ph, for more in-depth analysis. You can also catch One News on Signal Play app. Register for a free account now at www.signalplay.com and stream One News live anytime, anywhere. I'm Riza Diaz. We are One News.